This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, October 3rd of 2024. We are so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I speak with the state climatologist for Iowa, Dr. Justin Glisan, to talk about the dryness that we're seeing across the state right now, as well as what that means for harvest and specifically harvest safety. But before we get into any of that, let's hear a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Well, I had the chance today to visit with the state climatologist for Iowa, Dr. Justin Glisan. And of course, we do know now that the September that we just saw is one of the driest on record. And with that, there's a lot of things that can happen to the crops. Structurally, we can see corn start to bend over and break due to just not having enough moisture. But also, there's an enhanced risk for fires in the fields. And I talk with Glisan about the dryness we're seeing in the state, as well as what it means going forward. We're here with the state climatologist for Iowa, Dr. Justin Glisan, for our weekly chat on the latest weather and climate patterns in the state of Iowa. Justin, great to have you on again this week. First off, how is the drought monitor looking?
Hey, good afternoon, Riley. Great to be back with you. Yep, so after the driest September on record, going back 152 years, we've seen expansion of drought conditions and worsening of some conditions in western Iowa. In fact, across Monona County, we've seen D2 conditions, severe drought conditions form, 1% of the state. But we've seen over the last 90 days about precipitation deficits on the order of 4 to 5 inches. So definitely very dry conditions. However, you take these dry conditions that we've seen recently, we're still running about the 30th wettest year on record, again, 152 years of records. So we really front-loaded a lot of moisture in the soil profiles. We busted the 4-year drought that we had been going through since 2020. But now we've shifted back towards warm and dry conditions, and hence we're seeing abnormally dry and drought conditions intensify across the state.
And of course, that's pretty good for harvest progress. We know that a lot of farmers across the state have really kicked things into gear. But when it comes to just how dry it is and not having that rain really much at all over September, I've heard a little bit about even some structural integrity issues with the corn specifically falling down in the fields. And then on top of that, with this dry weather, get a little bit of wind as well and warmer temperatures. And there's that enhanced risk for fire danger as well.
Absolutely. You look at the dew points, very low dew points, and we've noticed this as we've seen these warm daytime temperatures, but overnight we're cooling off. In fact, we're seeing chilly mornings over the last several days. So this is telling you how dry the air is. So definitely with windy conditions that we've been seeing over the past few days, warmer temperatures, low relative humidity, and precipitation deficits through September. Field fires are very possible. We're seeing significant conditions out there for them to occur. And if they do happen, they can spread rapidly and become uncontrollable. So we really want our farmers and ag stakeholders to be extremely careful out in the field and be ready for those field fires should they occur.
And we've seen those fire danger warnings from the National Weather Service in kind of a bunch of counties across the state. Now, when it comes to those fire danger or those enhanced fire risk warnings, what does it take for the National Weather Service to finally declare that those conditions are very ripe for that to happen?
Definitely windy conditions, so very gusty winds, but also those low dew points, very dry air masses, And this is a reflection also of those longer term precipitation deficits that we saw through September. So when all those ingredients come together, when we see them forecasted out 1, 2, 3 days, that's when those fire danger or those fire warnings are issued by the National Weather Service. And then you also mentioned we do have, I think, more than 20 counties that have burn bans out there. Again, reflection of just how the ingredients are coming together for these fires.
That again was the state climatologist for Iowa, Dr. Justin Glisan. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we are here with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. First off, Curt, what do we see going on in the grains today?
Still teasing everybody. Until August, it teased the sellers. It go up and fall apart, give everybody hope, take hope away. Now it's been teasing the buyers for the last month. Anybody needs to buy some, it keeps getting away from the upside and back. But we were lower today. D's corn down 4 1/4 at 28 1/4. The November beans down 10 cents, 10.46. December wheat was down 11 3/4 at 6.03 1/2. Spread activity with the Black Sea region and Israel. Feed grains gained some ground here. They're buying corn, selling beans, buying wheat, selling beans on the spread activity. This morning's weekly export sales report, we saw strong corn sales, 1.6 million metric tons, soybeans 1.4. Corn was above trade expectations. Beans was fairly good for the week. Decent meal and oil sales, wheat sales hung in there. World vegetable oil market continues to be fairly active, fairly strong. So that's keeping the soybean oil firm. Big time unwinding some spreads. We saw the meal lose some ground here this week. Bean oil's been on fire here, so they've been doing some spread activity there. Other thing is the commodity funds. They've actually covered quite a few short positions. There's ideas that maybe the funds are only short about 30,000 contracts of corn, maybe 20,000 contracts of beans. So we've been trading ownership as producer comes in and sells this across the scale here. Commercial's been hedging it, and the fund's been buying that back. So a lot of transfer ownership. Front and center is going to be a harvest activity here as we move forward. Got a fairly open week for the most part. Yields are fairly variable. Some guys are looking at some better than last year, some below last year, and some just about average. Kind of feels like the bean yield might be a little rich. FC Stone came out, but their bean yield up 53.8. That's about half a bushel higher than the USDA. Stone had their corn yield 184, and that's about half bushel higher than the USDA. So there's some optimism in what they're seeing as far as production goes. Have an update report here next week on harvest activity. It's scooting right along. Weather-wise, like I mentioned, is fairly dry here from the next week, 2 weeks here in the upper Midwest. We're seeing the South American forecast turn wetter. They're entering their wetter season here as we move into mid-October, so they're going to get some rain. Outside markets, kind of hitting on that, Israel, Black Sea, crude oil up over $3 today. So we're seeing a little bit of a price risk coming into the marketplace as uncertainty around the world increases.
And then on the livestock side of things, Curt, how did cattle and hogs trade today?
Well, cattle market just continues to climb the wall of worry, but we ran up against some downtrend lines technically here. We'll see how the cash news goes. The fats were up for the week here, but they reversed down off those resistance levels there. So we'll see what happens there as we move through the week. Hogs, in the meantime, the lean index has been sideways to this 84.45 area, just chugging sideways. Export sales report, we sold 22.5 beef. South Korea took the chunk of it. China took about 6.2 on that. Pork, 55% more over a week ago. We sold 43. Mexico, a good buyer. China, a good buyer. And Canada, a good buyer.
All right, Curt, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and viewers who'd like to get in touch with agmarket.net, how can they do that?
1-800-779-1515 or agmarket.net.
All right, Curt, thanks again for taking the time to visit with us, and we look forward to chatting again next week.
Very good. Take care.
And that again was Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. Let's take a look at how those numbers close through the market window at iowaagnet.com. At the close, December corn down 4 1/4 at 428 1/4. November soybeans down 10 even at 1046 even. December soybean meal down 7.90 at 332.50. Soybean oil up 89 cents at 44.53. Chicago wheat down 11 3/4 at 603 1/2. Kansas City hard red wheat down 7 3/4 at 611 1/2. Minneapolis spring wheat down 3 1/2 at 645 1/2. December oats down 6 even at 383 3/4. On the Merc, October live cattle down 142 at 186 even. October feeders down 75 cents at 248.97. October lean hogs down 50 at 84.17. Pork cutout went unchanged at 93.92. And October class 3 milk down 11 cents at 22.86. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. That also brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. And of course, always check out our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pods of Potential, which, by the way, did recently release its 12th episode. You can find all of those on your favorite podcasting service at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of the IRN broadcasting crew, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.